For the first time since World War II, Italy is set to have a far-right leader. Exit polls from the weekend's election show Giorgia Meloni as the country's next Prime Minister. The Brothers of Italy party leader struck a moderate tone in her first victory speech.
If we will be called to govern this country, we will do it for all Italians, for everybody, with the goal of uniting this people, of stressing what unites rather than what divides. Because the great goal that we have always given ourselves in life as a political force was to ensure that Italians could once again be proud to be an Italian. Be proud to wave the tricolour flag.
Meloni would be Italy's first female Prime Minister. According to exit polls, her party is predicted to win around 26% of the vote. In the last national election in 2018, her party received only 4% of the votes. Her right-wing alliance includes Matteo Salvini's far-right League and former Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi's centre-right Forza Italia. In the lower house, the right-wing bloc looks set to have 238 seats. That's close to 60% of them. The centre-left bloc would receive just 78 seats. In the Senate, the right bloc is set to control 56% of the House with around 112 seats. Voter turnout was low with just a little over 63%. That's down almost 10 points from 2018. Officials say voting levels were especially poor in southern regions, including Sicily. The Brothers of Italy party traces its roots back to a neo-fascist group, the Italian Socialist Movement. It was led by supporters of dictator Benito Mussolini. In this election, Meloni has distanced herself from the party's far-right roots and has instead called for a moderate conservative force in the country. Well, for more on this, we're joined by Gregory Alleghi, who is a political analyst, joining me live from Rome now. And just tell us, how does it all play out, Gregory, in the coming days when it comes to Meloni trying to put together a governing coalition and become the Prime Minister?
Hello, thanks for asking and congratulations for the excellent summary. What will happen, Italy has a parliamentary system, so once the official results are in and certified, the President of the Republic will meet and, let's say, interview the leaders of the various parties. That round will take several days, after which he will have, let's say, information to base upon his decision to call in someone to form a government. The odds are that it will be Giorgia Meloni. She will then, say, do her homework, come back within 2 or 3 days, go back to the president, say, this is my cabinet lineup, this is what we propose to do. If that sounds convincing, the president will swear in the new government, at which point the new government becomes, let's say, a caretaker government, replacing and finally shelving the Draghi government, and then go over to Parliament to ask for a vote of confidence, which, with the numbers you mentioned, seems to be a pretty sure thing. Are there any difficulties? Yes. Putting together the coalition, finding the proper balancing between the three parties. Who gets which cabinet? Some cabinet posts. Of course, some ministries have larger budget or exercise greater influence, and some of them are crucial in this junction, like foreign affairs or defense. So even though Mrs. Meloni has a large majority, there are some delicate steps and places where she has to tread carefully to keep everyone happy in her coalition. Then goes back to the president, says, I'm ready, she's sworn in and takes power.
And in terms of how she might govern, she's being described as a far-right leader, but we've heard that in the campaign she tried to strike that moderate tone. What's your expectation about how she might govern?
That's an excellent question. She's clearly a very bright person, and her personal history is one of militancy. She comes from those roots you mentioned. She's way too young, of course, for having been part of, let's say, historical fascism, but she grew up in a party which was still influenced by that heritage. However, she is young, she's bright, she's practical. So I don't expect any immediate, let's say, high-speed U-turns. We might see some realignment, we might see some more forceful positions, but I don't anticipate any large short-term differences. Yes, maybe Italy will make its voice heard, but if we look at the past 80 years, Italy has been pretty consistent in its alignment, even when it was difficult. Think of the 2011 war with Libya, which was an extremely important trading partner to Italy, or even the 1999 involvement in the Kosovo war. So I don't see Giorgia Meloni making a radical break with that tradition. Readjustment, yes, maybe greater change towards the end of the legislature in 4 or 5 years, but certainly not Wednesday morning.
And does that extend as well, Gregory, to relations with Brussels and the European Union?
Certainly there is a component of, let's say, people who think that Brussels is too powerful or too intrusive and so on. On the other hand, in many ways, Italy does not have an excellent record at European politics level, whereas the government engages the Italian European members of parliament or members of the European Parliament don't always have a record of participation and so on. Mr. Salvini of the League, for instance, one, and he's known to have attended very few meetings. So translating this generic dissatisfaction into an actual practical, let's say, how could you say, not enforceable, but implementable change in policy is going to prove a significant challenge. There is no denying that some people are unhappy, but you have to be consistent in the way you approach this if you want to get results. That's going to be the challenge for the new government.
Okay, Gregory, thank you. That's Gregory Eleghi, political analyst, joining me live from Rome.